Live from the NHTV studios in North Haven, Connecticut, this is the Open Mic TV show. I'm your host, Michael CUOMO. Welcome along on this Wednesday night, August the 7th. Believe it or not, we're already in August, ladies and gentlemen. We are about 4 months away till Christmas, and I know that sounds crazy, but it is true. So welcome along on this Wednesday night, August 7th, 2013. I am glad to be here once again for your entertainment pleasures, and I appreciate all the support of the Open Mic show. We had a great guest last week in Steve Smolka. Got a lot of great feedback from Steve's appearance. Hope to get Steve back on in the near future to follow up a second show, if you will, to talk about addiction and some more questions. I know we didn't really get to a lot of things last week because we only had an hour. We had some calls as well. And meanwhile, speaking of calls, I want to just mention to you the numbers on the screen there, 203-234-0025. The Facebook page is up and running, as always, facebook.com/openmictv. and youtube.com/openmic80. And I know the guys will have the addresses up momentarily in the back for the Facebook and YouTube. Again, if you happen to miss any shows and you want to catch any replays, thank you guys. There's the credits, the websites on the bottom of your screen, facebook.com/openmictv, youtube.com/openmic80. You know, if you missed last week's show, you caught it late, you can obviously check it out on the YouTube page. Tonight's show will be replayed tomorrow morning on the YouTube page. Also, you can go to the NHTV website and nhtv.com, and also the replays will be uploaded on the NHTV website each and every week. So a lot of different avenues for you to go to you know, stay active in following the Open Mic show. So certainly appreciate that. Real quick, I want to mention a couple guests that I have lined up that are confirmed to come on. Very excited to get these people on the show. First, we're going to have on in 2 weeks from tonight, which would be Wednesday night, August 21st, Charlotte Timberman from the North Haven Animal Shelter is going to take some time and come on to talk about the shelter's 65th anniversary, and also she'll be talking about the adoption process, you know, what it entails to adopt an animal from the shelter, what sorts of animals and breeds of animals they have for dogs, cats, etc. I don't think she's going to bring any animals here live, but I think maybe some photos. So it'll be an interesting show. All you animal lovers out there, mark your calendar for Wednesday, August 21st. And the following Wednesday, which is Wednesday night, August 28th, a very exciting show. I just got confirmation that the president of the North Haven Fair, Miss Martha Vincent, will be joining me live here on the set. And we'll be talking about the North Haven Fair, which is coming up in approximately a month from now. So believe it or not, fair season is right upon us. Martha Vincent will be here August 28th talking about the North Haven Fair. We'll be talking about any of the big name entertainment that she'll be having perform there, whether it's a band, pro wrestlers, Rosie's Racing Pigs, which is always a fun event to check out every year. In addition to all the great food and rides. So it's always I always go to the North Haven Fair every year. I like to check it out. So it's certainly going to be a great show. And I believe Martha's going to have on a co-host, Bob McManus, who is also on the board of directors for the North Haven Fair. He'll also be on. So I'll be joined by two people affiliated with the North Haven Fair, the president and also the board of director. And that's going to be Wednesday night, August 28th, which will, you know, be just about a week before the fair starts. So it'll be fresh in everyone's mind. That was sort of the thinking involved in doing the interview at that point. So definitely want to mark your calendars. I do have some guests lined up for September already booked, but I won't get to them until later on in the month. I don't want to confuse you out there with too many names, too many dates. So Okay, now we're going to switch gears real quick. I want to throw out a trivia question tonight. This trivia question really has nothing to do with anything going on in the world. It's a just a spontaneous, pulled it out of the hat sort of thing, and it has to do with geography, particularly the flags of certain countries. So tonight's trivia question, if we can get that on the bottom of the screen to appear, there it is. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, name 2 countries. Now, there are 3 of them out there, but you only need to name 2 with eagles that are on their flags, respectively. So if you know the answer and you want to call in, you will get an official open mic with Michael CUOMO coffee mug mailed out to your house. Give me a call, 203-234-0025 if you know the answer. 2 countries. There's 3, but you only need to name 2. If you want to brag and you want to be a show-off and name all 3, you can do that. 2 countries with eagles that are on their flags. Give me a call if you know the answer, 203-234-0025. Okay. I'm going to delve into some information now. And typically I start with national news, then I'll go to local news and sports, etc., etc. However, tonight I'm going to start with some sporting news because it seems that out of everything going on in the world, in this crazy world we live in, and actually the sports headlines are actually overtaking the 6 o'clock news, 10 o'clock news, the morning news all over the internet, main stories on Yahoo and whatever other sites are out there. So let's start with some sports news, which is really at the forefront of making national news. You all know where I'm going to go with this because you probably are tired of hearing about it, as am I. But I need to bring it up as a broadcast journalist to inform the audience and let you know what's going on. And the story has to do with Alex Rodriguez of the New York Yankees. In case you've been living under a rock, he is being investigated by the Biogenesis Clinic down in Miami, Florida, for illegally using PEDs, which stands for performance enhancing drugs. He was one of 12 players mentioned in this lawsuit, if you will, or list that has surfaced. And suspensions have been given to these players, including A-Rod. Now, he was the last one to receive his punishment. The other 11 or 12 players got 50-game suspensions without any appeals, and those took place immediately. Now, A-Rod, he's been slapped with a ban from Major League Baseball for the rest of this year and also all of next year, the 2014 season. So it's something like 211 games in total that his suspension would include. However, given the fact that A-Royd, as I call him, is now going to appeal the suspension, which isn't any news, but the news about it is now that he's appealing the suspension, he can actually buy some time. His suspension, by appealing it, could not be heard until later this year, until like November, which means that it will basically enable him to play the rest of this year before the appeal is even heard. So it's kind of a bizarre, it's kind of a bizarre twist. Everyone thought that he was going to be banned from day one once the suspension was given out. We would never see him again. By appealing this, he is actually, if I were in his shoes, I would do the same thing. He is now buying time through, like I said, November, which is going to be after the season's over. And the way the Yankees are playing, their season's going to be over way before November. At that point, there will be an appeal heard, and then I'm sure what's going to happen is he'll either get a 50-game suspension for next year to start the season, or they'll give him the whole year suspended. So nothing's really going to affect A-Rod for this year. It's going to be 2014, and I think when all's said and done, he's going to get a 50-game suspension starting immediately at the beginning of 2014 season. So it's kind of a story that just won't go away. every day there seems to be a new twist to it, a new rumor. You know, there was a lot of dragging of the heels from Major League Baseball and the commissioner in issuing this penalty for A-Rod. Like I said, they waited to issue this penalty for him last. So at this point, we're going to just assume that A-Rod is playing the rest of the year into the playoffs if the Yankees should make the playoffs, but they're about 10.5 games out of first place. Their pitching is atrocious. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think it's the first time they're not making the playoffs in I forgot how many years, if it holds up. So so that's pretty much it with the whole A-Rod scandal. You know, these suspensions, obviously now if you appeal them, and as you know, I'm surprised the other players involved didn't appeal their suspensions, because they probably could have also bought some time and fought it, maybe got a lesser penalty. But A-Rod, being who he is, he figured this is the best thing for him to do. He's going to fight it to the end. So that's pretty much the whole gist of what's going on in Major League Baseball with A-Rod and the steroids and the PEDs and all that. Whether or not the sport's ever going to get clean and be totally, drug-free of these PEDs or steroids, whatever you want to call them, I seriously doubt it. I mean, I personally think that Miguel Cabrera, who is the Triple Crown winner, who plays for the Detroit Tigers, I personally think he's on the juice. I mean, if you've noticed these last couple weeks, he's had some hip problems, which have kept him out of ball games. Typically, people that use steroids and PEDs, the first thing to go, that's a sure sign that they're on them, is their hips. A-Rod had double hip surgery. Miguel Cabrera now had his hips. He hasn't had surgery, however, he has been affected by bad hips, which have caused him to miss some games. These are all, signs pointing to drug use, steroid use of a baseball player. So, anyway, if anyone out there, whether you're a Yankee fan, Red Sox fan, Met fan, want to call in and chime in on this whole steroid abuse, allegations, PED, do you think the punishment for A-Rod was fair? Do you think he should start his suspension right away? Or do you think that he is entitled to appeal it, to appeal his suspension, therefore buy time? I'd love to hear your input on that. 203-234-0025 is the number to call in. And I was just told in the back we do have our first caller of the night. So let's get to our first caller. And good evening, caller. You're live on the Open Mic Show.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Michael. How are you tonight?
Good evening, Mr. McCarver. How are you?
Very well, very well. Thank you. I just wanted to weigh in on this A-Rod stuff. It's and it's a story that you can't get away from.
Right.
It's refreshing not to hear Aaron Hernandez in the news like we did for the last 2 or 3 months after what happened to him early in the summer. And
well, just hang on a couple minutes, Ed. I have a story about him coming up.
Oh, all right. But it's as you know, I listen to WFAN most of the day, and that's really that's all they talk about. And I put a post on Facebook. I actually feel sorry for Alex Rodriguez. I know he's rich beyond my wildest dreams, and he's a celebrated athlete. But he just seems like a very unhappy person. And I posted it, and I got killed with some of the comments that he knew what he was doing, it's his own fault. But he just seems like an unhappy person, and I just feel bad for him.
Yeah, I mean, I hear your point, but a lot of people people that know him very well call him a narcissist, and basically say that it's always about him. What can you do for him lately? And again, I mean, if A-Rod supposedly never took these PEDs, and I guess he's never said that he hasn't done them. He's actually admitted that he did them wasn't it Katie Couric a few years ago?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be talking about him tonight. Obviously, he dug his own grave when it comes to this stuff. I just don't understand why those other players got a 50-game suspension and for some reason they gave A-Rod 200 and what is it, 11 games?
Yeah, and they must have some sort of evidence on him, is what I hear. But it's just a shame to hear about it. And I heard the interview with Lyle Overbay, and I thought he had a great comment. He says, why would somebody with all the natural talent that Alex Rodriguez has try and use performance-enhancing drugs? Because he's a brilliant natural talent, and just kind of, wasted away with all this stuff here. Now his legacy would be just back to nothing.
Yeah, and the obviously the contract the Yankees gave him, there's still, I think, 5 years left on it. And when they signed him, they were obviously hoping that he would have broken the all-time home run record, which obviously doesn't look like that's going to happen now.
No.
So I actually, and I'm a Red Sox fan, but I actually feel bad for the Yankees.
Yeah.
For this contract they gave him, because they were duped by him. They were under the impression he was clean and just like you said, natural raw talent, and here we find out that he was juicing it during his early years with the Yanks.
Yeah, it is too bad. I'll take a stab at the trivia question.
Sure.
The only country I can mention that has an eagle on their flag is Philadelphia. So is that correct?
No, actually, Philadelphia is a city.
Oh, it is. Oh, all right.
Yes. No.
All right. Well, that's all for me tonight, Michael. I just miss regular sports programming. Talk about Aaron Hernandez and Jerry Sandusky, and we need to get back to the real sports. Not just the A-Rod stuff.
Ed, I don't know if you read my notes before the show, but my next story is Jerry Sandusky, and then Aaron Hernandez. That's scary.
You don't have Manny Pacquiao in there, do you?
No, I only talk about sports.
Oh, all right. All right, Michael, you have a good night.
All right, take care, Ed.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye. All right, I'm not lying, ladies and gentlemen. My next story is about Jerry Sandusky, and then it's about Aaron Hernandez. So how Ed McCarver knows that, it's kind of scary. But anyway, anyone out there want to chime in on this whole A-Rod situation? 203-234-0025. Do you think A-Rod is innocent, guilty? Do you feel bad for A-Rod? Do you feel happy that he got the suspension? Do you think he, is taking PEDs, or did and now has stopped, or do you think he's still taking them? I mean, there's so many questions when it comes to this whole baseball situation. But anyway, anyone out there that wants to chime in, 203-234-0025. Okay, moving right along, as promised, Jerry Sandusky is writing letters. Now, we all remember Jerry Sandusky, again, in case you were living under a rock, former Penn State defensive coordinator, worked side by side with Joe Paterno for many years, and was accused on 48 counts of sexual molestation or abuse on college students, also children, during his time at Penn State. And as a result of the investigation and the evidence, he was sentenced. He was found guilty, and he is currently serving a 30 to 60-year prison sentence. He was actually convicted on 45 out of the 48 counts of sexual abuse. Reason I'm bringing Jerry Sandusky up now is some letters have surfaced on the internet that he has been writing to his wife from prison, telling her, what he's been up to in jail. It's actually a pretty interesting letter. I'm going to share some of it with you. He's telling his wife that he has been exercising, he reads, he meditates, and he does a lot of writing from prison. The letter goes on to state that he fantasizes about playing with little boys and playing hide-and-go-seek in jail with them. But so that's pretty much a nutshell of his whole letter he wrote to his wife. I thought I would share that with the listening audience. And again, I'm just a reporter. Don't shoot the messenger here. Whether or not he really wants to play hide and go seek with little boys, that's up to him. But I think that's what got him in the in this trouble in the first place. So, all right, moving right along, let's now talk about Aaron Hernandez. This actually has to do not so much with Aaron Hernandez, but it's kind of a tragic story, because in the last month or two since he's been incarcerated for his involvement in this murder, he's lost 2 family members that have died. It's almost like a curse of his family now, you know. I think he lost I think it was a cousin who initially died. And over the weekend, Aaron Hernandez's uncle, who lives in Bristol, died over the weekend from a moped accident where he was riding around apparently without a helmet, hit a curb and was tossed, and, you know, obviously hit his head and succumbed to his injuries. So he died from the crash. So, you know, not only is Aaron Hernandez now in jail awaiting his trial, but now he's finding out that he's losing family members who he was probably close to. I mean, I can only imagine they were close, you know, living in the same town, same family. I would assume he was close to his uncle and cousin. So kind of a tragic story for Aaron Hernandez. It's sort of like I hate to say like the Kennedy curse, but, you know, it's starting to be a curse of the Hernandezes. Say that 3 times fast. So let's hope there's no other family members of the Aaron Hernandez immediate family who are going to be next in this whole, you know, tragic, just a weird type of accidents that we, you know, are reading about. It seems like every other week. So last thing I want to mention in the sports news, which actually, again, is making national news. This is why I've been talking a lot about these things, because they're not just in the sports realm or in the sports headlines. They're actually outside of that box. They're making the front page. It's all over the internet. For example, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver Riley Cooper, who has been all over the news. I mean, they're treating this guy like OJ, you know, where they got a microphone and chasing him all over the place. I mean, he has absolutely no separation from the media ever since he was caught on camera using a racial slur. And this was at a Kenny Chesney concert last week. He was with a couple friends, used a racial slur. It was all over YouTube. Obviously, it was a derogatory comment towards African Americans. He obviously has a lot of teammates that are African American. Didn't really sit well with a lot of his teammates. So he was actually excused from the team for like 4 days for sensitivity training. I've never heard of sensitivity training. I've heard of counseling. I've heard of therapy. But sensitivity training, I guess he was brought somewhere to be more sensitive. Whatever. So he's now back with the team. Apparently he apologized to each and every one of his teammates, kind of hashed things out, and we will see what happens, if this is going to be a distraction moving forward or if it is water under the bridge and business as normal. But just a weird kind of week in the world of sports, which has overtaken the national headlines. So again, if anyone out there wants to comment on any of the stories I just talked about, the Riley Cooper of the Philadelphia Eagles using a racial slur, Aaron Hernandez, his uncle, who was killed in a moped accident last week in Bristol, the A-Rod story, where he was now given a 211-game suspension, which really isn't going to be 211 games because he's appealing it. Or the Jerry Sandusky writing letters from his cell to his wife. Basically, his letters are depicting that he has some sort of hope left. You know, that he's still saying that he's innocent and he didn't do these things and he will continue to fight for this. But if you're innocent, then apparently you wouldn't be in jail for 30 to 60 years, in my opinion. But again, who am I to say? But anyway, just a lot of crazy things going on in the sports world that have made national headlines. Again, if you tuned in late, on the bottom of the screen is the trivia question this week. Name the 2 countries with eagles that are on their flags. If you know the answer to the question, 203-234-0025. Real quick, I want to thank Mr. Henry Pond, who was my cameraman this past weekend at the North Branford Potato and Corn Festival. We had a great time on Saturday. We were in attendance. We were interviewing random, vendors and people affiliated with the fair. We had some footage from all around the fair. I actually had a aerial footage shot of the whole fair from the Ferris wheel. Live interview that I did at the top of a Ferris wheel. All the footage is being edited as we speak, so as soon as I know of a date where it could be viewed, whether it's going to be on NHTV or on YouTube, I'm pretty sure it's going to be on YouTube. I'll let my viewers know about it so you can check it out. In case you weren't there, there was also the fireworks show Saturday night, which Henry, the cameraman, was able to record. So it's just a nice collage of the whole North Branford Potato and Corn Festival in one 45-minute or 1 hour final cut. And really interesting time, great time. Met a lot of nice people there, so looking forward to doing that again. So I'll keep you up to date in case you weren't able to make it last weekend. I'll certainly let you know when the replay will be on for the fair. So, and speaking of fairs, a quick reminder. Wednesday night, August the 28th, I will have on Martha Vincent, the president of of operations at the North Haven Fair. She'll be joining me along with Bob McManus, and we'll be talking about the 2013 North Haven Fair, which is only about 4 weeks away, believe it or not. We are just about ready to take a quick PSA break. As soon as we do that, when I come back from the break, I am going to talk about some, I don't know if anyone out there is a fan of the Food Network has a show called Restaurant Impossible with Chef Robert Irvine. I'm actually a huge fan of it. I like to watch it all the time. And the reason I bring it up in my local news section, which I'll be talking about shortly after the break, that show is actually hitting Connecticut. And I'll give you more information about it. So that, along with some West Nile virus cases that have been reported in Connecticut. I'll mention the towns it was reported in. Might be one town that you live in. And I'm also going to be talking about, later on in the program, a show that I was subjected to watching last week called Naked and Afraid. And I'm going to do a little rant about this show, so please stick with us because I have a lot to talk about in the last half hour of the show. If we're ready for the PSA break, we're going to get to it now. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back after this short message, ladies and gentlemen.
We depend on our national forests for clean air, wood for our homes, and drinking water for millions of Americans. But now, our national forests are depending on us. Trees have been devastated by insects, disease, and fires. The Arbor Day Foundation asks for your help in replanting our national forests, because so much depends on what we do today. Visit arborday.org. See what we're doing. See how you can help.
When you're finished with your food or beverage cartons, toss it in the recycling bin. Because every carton is recyclable and can be turned into useful paper products. When the contents are gone, let the carton live on. Recycle your cartons.
Stop. Whether it's on the way to school, at school, or online, bullying has become a non-stop threat to our youth today. Is your child being bullied? The National Runaway Switchboard can help. If you're having a hard time, get online or call to chat now.
Grandpa, look what I got. Let me see.
Oh, Dad, wait till you see the bike we got for Jake.
Hearing loss happens gradually with age, making it easy to ignore. Yet most older Americans aren't getting their hearing tested. Untreated hearing loss can keep your loved ones from enjoying what they cherish most.
Dad, can you hear me?
Don't let that happen. Speak up about hearing loss. You'll be glad you did.
We are back on the Open Mic Show. I'm your host, Michael CUOMO. Welcome back from our short break here for the second half of our show. And before we get to some more news, I am told we have a caller, so let's get to our call. Good evening, caller. You're live on the Open Mic Show.
Good evening, Michael.
Good evening, Mr. Dacey. How are you?
Fine, and you?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. Just before you get to your other news I know you wanted to get to, I have some more entertainment news for you.
Okay.
I just saw on the internet a television show that was a big part of my childhood. I'm not sure if you remember, but Captain Kangaroo.
A little bit before my time, but I've heard of it.
The voice actor, Cosmo Allegretti, the voice of Mr. Moose and Grandfather Clock, passed away today at the age of 86.
Oh, wow. That's a...
And I also have a question for you. I know you're a big Smurfs fan.
Yes. Yes, caller. Go ahead.
I understand Smurfs 2 has taken in $17.5 million at the box office. Are you part of that $7.5 million?
No, I'm not, sir. I haven't gone out yet to see the Smurfs. I'm trying to find some children to take to. You know, I wouldn't go as an adult, of course.
La 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 la.
All right, Tom. Well, we have a bad connection on this end, so I'm going to have to make like a tree and leave.
Well, I did hear you mention the North Haven Fair.
Yes.
And just to let everybody know that the NHTV Chowder booth will also be at the North Haven Fair. They'll be running the Chowder booth.
That's right.
And yours truly, along with the old man that called in earlier, Mr. Ed McCarver.
Old man, are you saying that Ed McCarver went to school with the gentleman who just passed away today from Captain Kangaroo?
I don't know. Is that true? I don't know.
Did they go to high school together? Is that what you're saying?
Possibly.
Okay, well, maybe Ed can call in and clarify that, but then again, he
doing our show on Saturday.
You guys are doing your show Saturday. Great.
So maybe we'll run into you, Mike.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah, I mean, I will hopefully be there in some capacity, and whether it's helping out with the booth or just walking around and checking it out, I love the fair each and every year. You know, it's great.
And our friends from the Squared Circle will be there also on Sunday covering the wrestling card.
Cool.
So we got a full weekend that weekend.
Will Stone Cold Steve Cundy be there?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay. I don't know if he was going to be wrestling or anything, you know?
No, but you know the crew from the Squared Circle will be there.
Jay Williams and John Zimmerman.
If we can find Hollywood Jay, we still haven't located him yet.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you saw the show this week, but somebody from the group Aces and Eights has taken responsibility for kidnapping Hollywood Jay Williams.
Oh, wow. Well, I'll try to...
He'll be back next Monday, we hope.
Good. Well, let's hope he comes back alive.
You know, they tried to get to me last week, too, by tampering with my wheelchair, but, you know, it didn't work.
Oh, really? Well, that's because your bodyguard, John, there has it bulletproof now.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But keep up the great work, Mike.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Enjoying the show.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, quick announcement. The trivia question, name 2 countries that have eagles on their flags. If you know the answer, 203-234-0025. Up for grabs is an open mic with Michael Cuomo coffee mug, which we will send out to your residents absolutely free. So I was talking earlier before I went to break. The Food Network has this, in my opinion, great show called Restaurant Impossible. Chef Robert Irvine is the host. He basically goes to random restaurants that need his help. Is only working on a $10,000 budget, and in 2 days he totally redoes these restaurants. Total makeover. I mean, they look like a whole new restaurant when he's done with it. A whole new menu. You know, the ambiance is totally different, and it really is cool to see the work that they do. Now, tomorrow up in Windsor, Connecticut, at the Windsor 75 Diner and Restaurant, the show Restaurant Impossible will be there taping for their episode, which I think is going to be starting tomorrow, and then Friday's the finale. There was a news clip stating that the show was actually looking for volunteers to go in attendance to actually be like the diners, the people that you see on the show when they go in the new and updated version of the restaurant and they're trying out the food. You know, they're looking for people to fill the booths, basically. So I guess if you go online, I know the Channel 3 WFSB, Channel 4 WVIT News, they have a phone number you can call to get on the list. I mean, I don't know how easy it is to get on the list to become one of these people that can actually be on national television. And by the way, I was trying to get Robert Irvine on the show here, but he doesn't like doing American shows, apparently. If I was Pierce Morgan, he said he would have given me some consideration. But anyway, if you're up in the Windsor area tomorrow, or you know someone that lives up that way, the Windsor 75 Diner and Restaurant will be having the Food Network show Restaurant Impossible there, taping for a soon to be shown episode. I don't know when they're going to show it, but I'm sure it'll be in the next couple months. This is the second time that Restaurant Impossible has been in Connecticut. First time was in Ellington at a place called Pastori's. And I'm not sure if they're still around or what the deal is. You know, Ellington and Windsor, these are kind of like in God's country. You know, hopefully next time he'll come down to like New Haven, Connecticut, where there's actually people, you know, civilized people that live down here that, you know, are more in tune with society and social media. I mean, I don't even know if Facebook goes up to Windsor, Connecticut, or Ellington, or, you know, East Bumble, you know what. But anyway, the Windsor 75 Diner and Restaurant, pretty cool. They're going to be up there tomorrow. Restaurant Impossible will be taping. Now, switching gears, but still speaking of food, this doesn't apply to me because I don't eat seafood, thank God. But there is a shellfish recall in Connecticut. There have been bushels of Blue Point oysters and hard-shell clams from beds harvested in Norwalk and Westport that have been deemed inedible. So if you were someone down in that area at some point in the month of July and you were eating Blue Point oysters or hard-shell clams, and you've had uncontrollable diarrhea and vomiting, well, this could be a reason why. I'm no doctor by any means, but again, this is one of the many reasons that I don't eat seafood. And I know there's a lot of people out there that do, but just got to be careful with what you eat. Everyone says the Long Island Sound, the water quality has improved, and yes, it has. But at the same time, would you rather eat something that comes out of Long Island Sound or possibly the Bar Harbor part of Maine? If I were a betting man, I would go with Maine, not Long Island Sound, but that's just me. I remember about 4 years ago, there was this huge lobster loss in Long Island Sound that the lobster trappers that, you know, that net them were basically whatever they normally would catch 99% of all these lobsters were dead. And it was just like millions of dollars were lost. I don't remember if it was attributed to the West Nile virus, when they were spraying for the West Nile virus, which actually caused the lobsters to die. I can't remember. But speaking of the West Nile virus, you like how I kind of rolled into my next topic? There have been 12 Connecticut towns to have been found recently carrying the West Nile virus. So again, if you have uncontrollable diarrhea or vomiting and you didn't eat oysters or hard-shell clams, you might have the West Nile virus. So there you go. Now, if you live in these towns, they're in alphabetic order: Bridgeport, East Haven. I actually grew up in East Haven. Fairfield, Glastonbury, Greenwich. I have a house there. Manchester, New Haven, Norwalk, Plainfield, Stamford, Stratford, and Westport. Boy, Westport's got two things going against them. They have the contaminated shellfish and the West Nile virus. Boy. So if you live in any of those 12 towns, there have been documented cases of the West Nile virus. So please take precaution. Make sure you spray yourselves with any sort of, bug spray or repellent that you can, that you're comfortable with, that works for West Nile virus. And because I know people have died, in joking about this and whatnot, people have actually lost their lives by, getting bit by a mosquito that carried the West Nile virus. Granted, a lot of these people were elderly. I think there were a couple cases of young children involved, like newborns, less than a year old, but still, it can certainly cause havoc to the point of death. So I don't want to die from a mosquito bite. I'm usually pretty careful as I go out and about, but just, for anyone out there that's these woodsy type of people, you like to go camping, you like to ride your mountain bikes up in the woods, you like to have relations outside and, think you're, I don't know, back in Woodstock or whatever whatever floats your boat, just make sure you're wearing bug spray so you don't contract the West Nile virus, okay? All right. Now, let's get to this this show. I don't know if anyone out there has seen this show. If you have, please call in 203-234-0025. We are quickly approaching the end of the show, so I'm going to try to talk about it briefly, but yet make my point. And then I just have a couple other news things to talk about. This is more of the national news segment, but I couldn't believe this new TV show that is out there. I forget if it was on A&E or the Discovery Channel or might have been Animal Planet. I can't remember. But the name of the show is quite fitting. It's called Naked and Afraid. And it basically has one guy and one girl, both complete strangers, who get naked and have to find ways to survive together as a team in some remote tropical forest or island, whichever, wherever the producers deem appropriate. I know the one I saw, they were down, I think they were in Costa Rica, in some, remote tropical forest with like vipers and, poisonous spiders and leeches and anything you can think of that, is just going to make your life miserable. These animals were living there. There was also an episode I saw where they were in Louisiana, in the swamps of Louisiana, where they had to put up with water moccasins, alligators, I think copperheads. It's just like no matter where you look, there was a 6-foot water moccasin right near these people who were absolutely butt naked, total strangers, and they have to basically live off the land. They have to, find a way to survive, whether it's hunting a wild boar they find, eating worms off the ground, drinking coconut juice, finding water from an underground, you know, spring. It was just a show that, first of all, I saw way too much white pasty ass on this show. I mean, these people were white. I know most people's behinds are white. You know, they don't go around, you know, sun tanning their butts. But these people in particular were just like, I mean, it was like Casper white. And they weren't even Irish. I mean, I think they were like Italian or Greek or whatever. So that was the first thing, you know. I flipped through the channel and I see like this woman's white pasty butt on the screen. And then they show this guy that looks like Tarzan. And he's got the long hair and he looks like he should be swinging off of a, you know, from tree to tree like Georgia the Jungle. This idiot apparently starts drinking water because he was so dehydrated from a contaminated river in Costa Rica, comes down with this like influenza, 105-degree temperature. He had to basically tap out and tell the producers he couldn't continue. They bring in the paramedics. They had to rush him to a hospital to basically save his life. So his female partner, she's all alone for the duration of the show. And by the way, it's a 21-day excursion, if you will. They have to survive for 21 days. She actually survived for 18 before she tapped out. Severely dehydrated, you know, mind over matter. You just lose it. You're like, I'm out of here. You start getting depressed. She lost something like 30 pounds in 18 days from just drinking hardly any water, hardly eating anything. They were actually killing water moccasins with their bare hands and skinning them alive to cook over an open fire for dinner. One of the parts actually had the heart of the water moccasin. After they skinned it, it was still beating. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, the point of all this, ladies and gentlemen, is as interesting as the show was, as funny as it is to see naked people, total strangers trying to survive in the wilderness, it is getting absolutely ridiculous nowadays with all these stupid reality shows that I see, that I'm subjected to on a daily occurrence or nightly occurrence. I want to start a petition where we can start bringing back old television shows that were solid, good quality, entertaining shows. I mean, I'm going to go back 20, 25 years. You know, I'm going to bring up shows such as Three's Company. You know, I'll even admit it, Full House, The Jeffersons, you know, The Three Stooges were always one of my favorites. Oh, there's another one slipping in my mind. Let's talk about cartoons. I mean, the Flintstones, the Jetsons. All right, maybe the Smurfs. But anyway, I'm just trying to make a point that these shows that I was growing up watching, I can't find nowadays. And what I'm finding is, I'm finding shows that make me absolutely sick to my stomach, such as Duck Dynasty, which I still haven't found anyone on those, you know, bearded idiots that actually has an ounce of talent. Yet it's one of these shows that has the highest ratings of any show on A&E. Each one of these, you know, hillbillies, rednecks are making $4 million each per season. And I haven't seen any talent that they have. What other shows are out there that are just, you know, off the wall? Let's well, we can talk about the Kardashians, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, which I was going to actually talk about Kim Kardashian. Let me talk about Kim Kardashian real quick. Speaking of reality TV shows that should be banned from television, well, Kim Kardashian is now rumored to be launching her own fashion line for children. So it's some sort of like, you know, I don't know, Baby Oshkosh is a name for children. So Kim Kardashian is trying to come up with some sort of savvy clothing line for children, and you know, that's like all we need now is more of Kim Kardashian in the spotlight, more of the, you know, annoying sisters who once again have no talent. I mean, name something the Kardashians do that you can say, wow, they have great talent. Designing clothes, not really. I think they actually have other people design it and they just put their names on it. I don't see any talent with the Kardashians, but yet they are beyond rich, coming out with new ideas. The media loves it. The paparazzi chases them around. I just don't get it. So anyway, we are running out of time, but if you had to call in, maybe you can call in and talk about one TV show that you grew up watching that is no longer on, that you wish was still on television. Give me a call, 203-234-0025. If I had to pick just one show that I wish was still on television now or would come back on, and unfortunately it can't because John Ritter died, but I absolutely love Three's Company. I think it was one of the funniest sitcoms ever. It was just one of those feel-good, you know, watching this type of show, and Mr. Furley, Mr. Roper. I mean, I just love the cast. Larry, who was Jack's gigolo friend, Terry the nurse, Chrissy, the airhead, to put it nicely. Just a great show. I wish that show would come back. Obviously, it can't. But if there's anyone out there that has a show you would love to see back on television, not one of these, you know, stupid new reality shows that make absolutely no sense. I saw a commercial yesterday for a show called Ink. I think it was called Ink Wars, I-N-K Wars. It's these two clowns who are like these tattoo artists that are going to help people who had bad tattoos. Like some lady had a tattoo that was supposed to be Pamela Anderson and looked nothing like Pamela Anderson. So now these two guys are going to fix the tattoo and make it look into something that, you know, looks like Pamela Anderson, or they're going to change it totally around and make it look really, you know, artsy and clever. I mean, I just don't know where the reality show, you know, peak is going to finally end, because it's like, if we're now seeing Naked and Afraid with naked people on television, what's next? I mean, eventually it's going to be totally nude. They're not going to edit anything out, and you're just going to see people in you know, the woods and, you know, having sex on television. It's just going to be the norm. I mean, there's going to be no more, you know, no holds barred. It's going to be whatever goes. And it's just shocking to see what's on television nowadays. There's just, I mean, there's a list. I've talked about a list of reality shows, I think several months ago when I started doing the show, of all these new reality shows, and I went over about 20 of them. Since I've done that list, there's probably 20 more that have joined the television circuits. And I'm sure by the end of the year, there'll be 20 other new shows. So it's like, when will it end? And when will these shows actually have good talent and make for good television? So what really started it all was pretty much, in my opinion, Survivor. Survivor was that show that was like no other show. You know, it basically drew millions of people. And then it just started branching off. Big Brother, The Bachelor. Then we had to have The Bachelorette. What's that other lady? Honey Boo Boo. I mean, there's just so many. There's just so many shows that have absolutely no talent. Like me, this show. No, I'm joking. Only I can say that. Don't you dare call in and say that. Okay, real quick. We have just about 5 minutes left. I want to get to one more quick story. This is not reality television. This is actually a real story. Needless do I say, but this woman involved had some talent, and it was all for the wrong reasons. She was a 46-year-old hockey mom who lived out in California, who basically had her son's friends, you know, hockey teammates, thank you, who were on, you know, at her house. She basically was feeding these kids alcohol, and it was basically a booze-infused sleepover party that she hosted. She's 46 years old. The kids now are like 14, 15, 16 years old. Two of the boys, or two of her son's hockey teammates, this woman sexually assaults at her house during this booze-infused sleepover party. And these two kids were like, you know, basically they were just shocked by what happened. They told their family, they told their friends, who obviously told the authorities, arrested this lady. She's now serving 18 months in jail for sexually assaulting two of her son's hockey teammates. Now, her poor son, you know, imagine the shame he's got to deal with now going to school, or whether or not he's still on this hockey team, knowing that his mom was basically, I guess to put it in a politically correct term, his mom was basically playing with his teammates' hockey sticks. And, you know, I guess from what I can read, she definitely found the puck. But she's also finding herself behind bars now for 18 months. So crazy stories, ladies and gentlemen. I'm at a loss for words, because I always say this. I don't mean to sound like a broken record. Just when I think I've heard it all, seen it all, something like this comes up and I'm at a loss for words, or a new stupid reality TV show comes up, like this Naked and Afraid, and I'm almost at a loss for words as I'm watching it on television. But anyway, that is pretty much all I have, ladies and gentlemen, for news. Thank you for hearing me out. And before we wrap things up, I want to make a quick... unfortunately, we didn't get the trivia question answered tonight. I got so caught up in all these news and topics. So the answer to the trivia question that nobody was able to guess: two countries with eagles on their flags. This should have been a very easy one. No, I'm just joking. The answer is Mexico, Egypt, and Albania. Those are the three countries. I only needed two of them. Nobody guessed it. So you know what that means. This mug, ladies and gentlemen, goes back home with me tonight. It is mine. I will be using it tomorrow morning. Thank God, because I'm running out. And with that being said, I want to thank everyone for watching once again. Again, check out the Facebook.com/OpenMicTV, YouTube.com/OpenMic80. I'm going to have some guests on coming up in the next several weeks, so be sure to tune in for that. And I will be doing another show next Wednesday night solo with no guests, but then I'll have two guests back-to-back for the following two shows. Thank you to everyone in the control room. I'm bad with names, so I'm going to just remember who I know right off the top of my head. Nick, Martin, I want to say Zach. I could be wrong. I had a long day. I apologize, but another trouble-free show back in the control room, guys. Thank you very much. And thank you to all the callers, all the viewers, for everyone here at the NHTV studios. I'm your host, Michael Cuomo. Till next Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. I will see you then. Good night, everyone.